you guys can follow that to download Ray Studio 3. And the only way to download Ray Studio 2 analysis is by downloading 3 first and then getting 2. It's really, really weird. If you have any problems with that, just let me know. Both 3 and 2 can be used like side by side. I have more experience with 2, but 3 works perfectly fine. And I'm guessing in the future, we're probably going to rely on 3 more. Any other questions about the software? Yes.
How is this going to work between
So currently, we have to use Canopy for eCar, but it's okay. There is a way we can integrate the Evo into eCar. So, all right. So what is it? So essentially, we have a ton of signals on the car, both cars. As I talked about a little bit in my unveiling speech, is we want to instrument the hell out of these vehicles. And Ray Studio is a program that's just logged stuff from this device here. So that's the AIM Evo 5 right here. It's $2,000. So if you see just flung about, just give it a hug or something. Allows us to see signals logged over time. I'll go a little bit about what the CAN bus is, what the hell is a bus, and then GPS data and etc. So there's 2 types of signals you can really have logged to this thing. It's kind of analog and digital to kind of sum it up bluntly. So an analog signal, if you guys know what a potentiometer is, essentially just a voltage, and you can measure the change in resistance, and it changes the voltage, and you can measure that change in voltage on one of these inputs. So that's like an analog sensor reading. A digital reading is something like a CAN bus. So a CAN bus is the way that multiple electronic units communicate on CCAR and eCar. So you have computer over here, they send data. So an example of a CAN unit we have on our car is the IMU, or the inertial measurement unit, and that will send acceleration Y, acceleration X, Z, and also yaw rate and pitch rate over CAN. And the great thing about CAN is it only requires 4 wires, so power, ground, CAN high, and CAN low. You don't really need to know about that, just talking to you about how the sensors are wired in. We also have the GPS. So the AIM Evo 5 has a GPS sensor that we can put on it, and the software itself does a lot of calculations to figure out automatic lap timing. It also has its own number of satellite signals. So if you know if we're getting like a good reading, GPS speed, which is the most important, and also has its own IMU on it. So a lot of instrumentation from these devices. So what's logged on this motherfucker? Everything, essentially. These are kind of the ones that came to my mind at first. Some of these will be completely useless to some of you. So some of you don't give a fuck about coolant temp and oil temp. Some people don't give a fuck about brake pressure. The idea is that all the stuff is correlated and logged over time. So if you need to draw correlations to something that you might not seen before or might have an idea for, you can totally do that because the data is there. And the idea is that all these signals are available at all times, so you can draw correlations whenever. And I'll show you how to make those cool correlations in the software very soon. Before I go ahead into a little bit of the demo and some of the software, does everyone have the software that wants to download the software? Good. Okay, cool. I think I posted a link for the drive where all of the data is stored. It should be in, let's see, did I put it in announcements? Is it in controls? Oh yeah, this is my way of funneling people to my controls channel. Okay, I'll put the link in announcements too. All right, the drive link is also in announcements. So that will have these folders in it. Okay, so so this is the folder right now. We only have one test day, or I guess this is the second one, but this is the data here. You have, there's 2 types of files we're going to be working with, is a DRK and XRK file. So a DRK is a Ray Studio 2 and an XRK is a Ray Studio 3. Don't need to worry about it, but XRK files are what comes out of the logger, and that's what I'm going to be putting in these drive. So you guys can go ahead and download these 3 XRK files here. So 1, 2, and 3, and I'll show you what to do with that later. And here are some paired videos. As people are downloading that, I will go over some, yeah. So this is kind of the idea of what I'm going to be explaining today. So how to import channels or import the data. Math channels, which are super, super powerful. Exporting it. I know some of you are maybe into Python or some other sort of MATLAB software. You can export this data as MATLAB and CSV documents. So you can make all the plots you want there. 2D plots, GPS data, and then combining video data, configurations, and then we'll go over questions, as I misspelled questions there. But, all right. All right. So I'm going to go over this plot right here, and this is going to be a little fun interactive question. Oh, everyone looks up. So for those who know what's going on in this, keep quiet. For those who don't know, we're going to have a little game here and figure out what the hell is going on. So I want to play this video of CCAR. Oh, can I click here? Please, hello. Okay. So on the top, you have software button 6. I'm not going to give any context at all. In this middle, you have APPS arbitration. So that's the driver's right foot. That's the pedal position. And at the bottom, you have rev limiter. I'm going to play this clip, and then we're going to talk about what the hell is going on here. Sorry for the mic quality. It's dog shit. I'm going to stop it right there. The initial observation is that at some points, the torque completely cuts from the car. So Ward is requesting the throttle, but it just bugs right there. Anyone have any ideas or any questions or want to point at anything you see interesting here? You see any correlations between, let's say, the orange and the green charts? Don't. Exactly. They're happening at the same time. So, correct. So let's look at this. So essentially what happens is I have launch control code, and the launch control code does not have a vehicle speed disabling ability. So whenever the button is pressed on the wheel, the rev limiter is enabled. So you can see that when the button is pressed, our rev limiter now goes down to 5,000 RPM. TLDR, what happened is the push to talk button for the radio was wrapped around the button for launch control. So whenever Warda would go to either talk or the button would move a little bit, it would reduce the rev limiter to 5K and basically allow this bogging that happened. So we went out there to tune our powertrain and end up seeing this shit. And unfortunately, this is the type of stuff that's always going to happen. And this is why we log as many signals as we can, so we don't chase ourselves into some random rabbit hole. But yeah, we came back and we saw this data, and I instantly knew that this was a problem. So this is one of the cool things you can do is, and this is new for this year, is we had this video pairing up. So we can actually see the driver, and we can also tell if the driver's lying or not, you know? So, yeah.
Were you actually logging that button, or did you just put
No, we were logging this button. So all the steering wheel buttons are logged on CAN. So all the dials and all the buttons are. So yeah, this would be a little bit of like a, if you didn't know how the code worked, it would be a little bit of a problem. But you can do see that like the rev limiter just dropped. So that's how you can indicate it. Any questions about this data at all? Cool. All right. So this is analysis 3, but here I'm going to go over here. So, all right. Does everyone have, let's see, where is it? Oh, does everyone have this? Oh, not sharing my screen. Does everyone have this application open, RS2 analysis? Oh shit, it might not work for XRK files. Hold on. Stand by. Stand by. Actually, I digress. Open up here. So go to RayStudio 3 and click this. You should go to like the all button, I believe. I'm just trying to see if I, or if you click the 3 button. Does everyone have this screen on RayStudio 3? Raise your hand if you don't. Got it? Oh, raise your hand if you do got it. Sick. Okay. If you need help, I'll come to you. Let's see. There should be an import button somewhere here. Import files. So it's this little like white doodad with the arrow going towards it. import, and then you should be able to import the 3 files you downloaded. So the 3 XRK files, I already have them in here. So put your hand up once you got those files imported. And they should appear in like your little sessions box here. I'll walk around real quick.
Oh, and then, yeah. Oh, I guess, I forgot. Yeah, there's duplicates in there. Yeah, take the ones that are good. Oh, no, only the XRK files. Yeah, .xrk. Yes. No. Sorry, are you? I'll go to the one with GPS. The GPS one I'll have to troubleshoot later because there was some higher computers for some reason. Yeah, everyone's saying no GPS sucks. When you sent me the XRK files, yeah, is there like oh yeah, there's one in the .xrk file. Do it at least one. You can see, yeah, yeah, there might be duplicates. Sorry about that. Do you need to edit config? No, I don't think so. There's like we have an eight. Got it? Yeah, it's perfect. Yep. So unfortunately, the GPS, I have to debug a little bit of it. It works on my computer, so I'll show you kind of what it shows. All right, so does everyone have, let's see. Does everyone have this 10:54 p.m. one? No? What is one on my screen that you guys have? 9:59 one? 9:50. Okay, I'm just going to click this then. All right, so if you double click on that 9:59 file, your screen would be completely different than mine. But I'll kind of walk over. So this is Race to You Analysis 3. So big thing here on the left, there's a search box. And some of the interesting signals you might be like looking for are driver's request. So can someone name me the 3 driver requests? Give me one. Throttle, that's one. Steering angle, we have one more. There we go. Throttle, steering angle, and brake. So what are those 3 signals? If steering angle doesn't work on this, I swear I'm gonna kill myself. But if you type in steering, so for some reason there's duplicates in this file, but just click the one that has data on it. So wow, okay, this one actually worked. There you go, Josh. So steering angle duplicate 2 will be down here. And is everyone able to see that file over time and like kind of scrub through it? I didn't upload the I did upload the movies to the drive, so later I can show you guys how to pair the two. But for now, just looking at the data is plenty useful. Another problem I just realized is that some of our sensors might have flipped axes. The angle sensor is upside down, so well, we can cross-check with that. All right, so steering angle is here. If you look for pedal request, that's APPS ARB, so that's the throttle. And then the brake would be brake. Yeah, so if we have front and rear brake pressure, I believe. Yep. So those are the 2 brake pressure channels. Let's see, what else can I find here? We were not logging shock pots, unfortunately, on this. For speed channels, if you look up speed, there should be GPS speed right here. So this is the one that will tell us how fast we're going, and we reached about 40 miles an hour. slow as shit. We're getting there. And then for your acceleration signals, you can look at the YRS channels. So this is directly from the Bosch sensor. So we have acceleration Y, acceleration X, roll rate, and then yaw rate. One thing is to note is that the Bosch sensor is flipped on its axes. Positive acceleration Y is left, and AX is forward. That's right, but the yaw rate is also flopped. So I'm going to make a addendum to the control channel about a config that has standard axes on it, but just be cognizant of that for now. So if you see two signals that probably should be aligned and they're not, just shoot me a DM and I'll let you know if those signals are correct. Yes, what else is interesting? So in terms of chassis, let's see, there's a bunch of powertrain stuff in here. Let's see. Oh, that's sick. Look at that. Number of satellites. We dropped the satellite. Fuck. I don't know how to fix that. But yes. So kind of, those are the chassis sensors you care about. All right. Now 2 analysis. So there's a bunch of shit you can do in 3, but I'm cold with 2. So does everyone have this little 2 button up here in the top left? Square root 2. All right. So if you click that, if everyone clicks that, do they see these 3 files pop up? Or are they there at all? They're not there? Fuck. Hold on. Let me cook, bro. Okay. Give me a second. One moment. There's a way to open it in 2, but I'm just going to send the 2 files real quick. I apologize. All right, copy that. All right, so in announcements, I'm going to put the 2 analysis files. There is a way to convert it. I just can't remember right now. Usually, if in this file, in 2 analysis, you should be able to do file or import. Put your hands up once you get the 2 analysis download, so I know everyone got those files. What's up? Yeah. All right. Walk around. The announcements, the DRK files.
So aim device not.
Yeah, those 3. Yeah.
It says aim device not.
Go back. Okay, so if you go data, import test, and then go to your downloads. Yeah, so data, import test, and the rest of it.
So,
No, okay. Announcements. Yeah. Sorry. Data import test. Data import test. And then, All right. All right, is everyone able to see something like this on their screen? Got it?
Oh, how do you open up? Do you just,
Double click it.
how do I open up? Is this-
I just opened one. I just opened what I opened. I have 749 opened. Okay, and I'm gonna close a bunch of these. Okay.
So can you do all the same stuff with both 3 and 2?
Yes.
Like,
I just like 2 better. Yeah. But 3 is plenty. Okay. All right. All right. Raise your hand if you got to the screen with one of the files loaded. Good. Good. Thumbs. Good. Okay. Cool. All right. So I think the default setup is, if let's say I have like, I don't know, voltage here and pressure here, you'll see stuff on like this on the single axis. You want to hit this one with the 3 lines on it, and this will stack the signals. So I'm going to open up so people can have the same things on their screen. I'm going to go to the one unfortunate thing with 2, there's no search bar. So if you scroll from the top, you can find GPS speed, and then we can do, let's do, where's APP? Yeah, APPS 1. We'll do GPS speed, APPS 1. So first thing is scaling. If you double click the left side right here, just like this, you can scale your axes. So just double click the axes, it scales. If you scroll in, you can zoom out. And the bottom here, you can see your overall time trace. This is lap delimited, so the GPS automatically figured out that we're doing laps. But you can just kind of scroll in and scroll out. You can, once you scroll in at a point, you can move the cursor at any time. And in the top right, you can see these kind of parameters here. So the one by the signal name is the current position in time. If you look at the top right, you see your time. Don't worry about the distance. It's kind of some built-in odometer. I've never really looked at it before. But let's say you're looking at time delta between 2 points. You can look at the time and say, okay, is that 830.832? And then you can go to another point and then subtract them to get your time between 2 points. That's what your time axis is. Blue, red, and white. So I believe white is an average, I think. Red is your maximum and blue is your minimum. So if you zoom out far enough, you should be able to see the maximum and minimum of each of those signals. Everyone kind of see this, kind of be able to move around the screen and stuff. So you can do the same for all of your signals. I could take the time and put units in. I probably should put units in, but some stuff is labeled. Okay, so I believe on the top there, I have a GPS icon. I believe it'll be grayed out for all of you. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yes? Shucks. I'll show you the cool stuff I can do with it anyway. So this is a really cool plot. I'll figure out how to get GPS working on the downloads, but this is GPS data overlaid with oil pressure. So you can see a couple things here. So red is high oil pressure. And then blue is obviously ambient or little to no oil pressure. So you can overlay stuff like any signal you want and see over the course of time how it changes. So you can see here that we're losing pressure when we start to turn and we regain it back as we accelerate. So this will kind of aid some of our decisions in the next oil iteration, I guess you can say. What else is here? The channels report page, I believe you can access these at the top. Let's see, I believe it's this doodad right here, Control F4. And then you can add or remove stuff per lap. So if I wanted, let's say, add, I think it's RPM duplicate 2. I want to add the maximum. I can kind of throw that shit in there. And then per lap, it'll automatically figure out my maxes and mins. So it'll do all kind of the hard calculations for you. There's also a histogram. Uh-oh, it might break my computer. Oh, not too bad. you kind of have to fuck around with this stuff a little bit to figure out what it does. But mostly what I really use is the measures graph and kind of the GPS plot. XY plots are super cool. It's a little bit tricky to figure out, but you can get stuff like GG plots or two signals that are reverse one another. But the measures graph is kind of the biggest thing I wanted to go over. Okay, math channels. So let's say we have a steering angle sensor that's flopped its axes. So it's negative, it's supposed to be positive. All we want to do is like just negative of the whole signal over time. How do we do that? If you go to modify, math channels, you're presented with this lovely screen. So what you can do here is insert, and I'm going to name the channel corrected SAS or corrected steering angle sensor. There's a lot of built-in functions that AIM has for us. So you can do all these functions here, like low passes, angles, slips, whatever, et cetera, et cetera. And then the best part about it is that the formula is literally just plain text. So if I want to do a negative of our steering angle, I can just do -1 multiplied by steering angle duplicate to, where is it? Yes. And then you can click test channel and then say, okay, the formulae has been correctly interpreted. And then you click OK. I should put a unit on it, put degrees. And we'll click OK. And it should appear at the very, very bottom. There you go, corrected SAS. And this log, the sensor was maxed out, so it doesn't even matter. Great. But that's how you would do it. And the signal was actually reading, it would work. All right, so that's math channels, that's measures graphs. What else? There's a lap manager here, and once the GPS working, this is pretty cool. So this is the run we ran at Columbus. If we do a normal run where you actually have laps that are repeatable, this would make sense. Unfortunately, because we're just doing a bunch of like just shaking down the car and debugging, this really makes no sense. But you'll be able to like select a start and finish from where we were at Columbus, and it'll automatically track your laps for you. And then based on that, you can do like a per lap time measurement, and you can see, and you start gaslighting drivers who are too slow. Yeah, that's kind of it. Last thing I'll go over, exporting data to a CSV file, because some of you guys like the CSV files. You can go File, Data Export, and then click CSV or MATLAB. Select your signals you want and your lap times, and then it'll export it. You can also do it in RayStudio 3 by going to this wrench icon, conversion of files, batch convert, and also pick the files you want. So I usually pick AIM CSV RS2 analysis, and it'll convert it to CSV files. Yeah, that's kind of all I wanted to go over without overwhelming everyone. Usually, if I get all the files uploaded to Drive, everyone should be able to just download it. But if you have, because you guys have the program, you'll be able to connect to the Evo in real time. So just connect to the Wi-Fi network and download the files. Unfortunately, one person is allowed to connect at one time, so we'll have to play that game somehow. But yeah. Any other questions for me? Everyone get the software to kind of partially work at least? That's good. I got the GPS. Yes, Jonah. Yes, math channels. So if you go to modify, math channels, and then you can edit your previous ones, or you can click insert and then make your new value.
Also, sample data that they give you.
Yeah, that is true. So there is sample data. I don't have it. I have Yuvan stuff from 2023. Okay. Oh, speaking of, Yuvan is on this call, and he was going to show us some data he has from his indie stuff.
My turn.
There we go. Oh, yeah.
Let me know when
All
I
right.
can share.
Can you? I'll stop sharing my screen. All right, go ahead.
Okay. How do I do this without sharing all my social security number?
All right, so
Okay.
hopefully you can go some insight. Hold on.
Sweet. Can you see? Oh, I'm not sharing the window. Stand by.
No, I can see it. I can see RS2 analysis.
Yeah, it's missing the pop-ups. So
Oh, okay. Hold on, let me make this full screen.
how about now?
I can see your screen. I can see your mouse moving.
Okay, perfect. And you can see that pop-up? Okay.
Yep.
Sweet. So I can't see who's there, but hi,
There's
my
about
name's
20 people here.
Okay, perfect. My name's Yuvan. I am a member of the team, but now graduated. I will be at eComp this year, so I'll see some of you guys there, hopefully. And yeah, so basically I race in the IndyNext series, which is one step below IndyCar. And so basically this is going to be more from the driver's point of view, for those of you who care. I know most of you guys probably don't, and this will be boring, but I'll try to keep it entertaining. So first off, this is Race Studio 2, because Race Studio 2 is better than Race Studio 3, I think. But also, Race Studio in itself is a pretty minimalistic software. It's really only used by like SCCA people, which are amateurs, and then low series. So it's pretty minimalistic. There's a lot more advanced stuff you can do with other programs like Pi, which is a Cosworth system, and Motec, and Bosch, which are other sort of loggers and stuff that have a lot more information and a lot more availability for you. But this is all you really need for a driver. So basically, as a driver, first off, you'll hop on like an engineer's laptop. They'll have 700 tabs here, and each tab will have its own thing. So it'll have dot plots, line plots, all sorts of plots that basically tell them different information that they can just look at that and tell you exactly what the car is doing. For this sake, this is what the driver dashboard will see. Because I would get sued likely if I used real data. This is sim data. I'm not going to tell you who the drivers were until the end, because I'm embarrassed. But if anyone can guess what track this is and tell Surya owes you a iced tea.
What? I don't know, man.
So yes, I changed it to mystery for now, but normally it'll show up there. Okay, so anyway, so what you got here, this top one is your RPM. The second one here is your steering angle. This third one here is a map channel that I created, but it's total G. So that's basically the absolute value of your lateral G added to your absolute value of your longitudinal G. I'll explain why in a bit. This one here is your GPS speed. Rarely we'll actually use GPS speed, but because it's a sim, it's accurate. Normally we'll use basically an interpolated speed of the front right and front left wheel speed. Just basically the average, or unless one drops out, just that. This one here is your brake trace. This one here is your throttle trace. And then down here is your C time or delta time. C time stands for compare time. Delta obviously is delta. And so basically, this is what you'll see. You'll come off the track. You'll have this data. You've got your lap times here in the top left. This 101 or this 0182, that's me. This 0175, that's Ted Burns, who is an incredible sim driver. For reference, I now have a lap time that's almost as fast as Ted's. I just didn't press the record button, so I got no data.
Sure.
But then I said that to Ted, and he said, if you can't repeat it every lap, it doesn't count, and it's a fluke. So that means it's a fluke. Anyway, so here, basically, you can see from this different parts of the track. You can see from this speed trace, basically, Ted is murdering me into this corner. If you know what actually happened, it's because I messed up the last corner. But he's still getting me a lot out of here. And so what's really cool, and the reason this total G is super helpful, is because total G is basically how much work the tires are doing. So tires are on a, without going into the depths of it, tires are on a big circle. They had 0 G right in the center of that circle. If you go right, it's a left turn and up to how many ever grips, if you use the unit grips the tire has. On the left side of the circle is right turn grips. Top of the circle is braking grips. And bottom of the circle is throttle grips. And basically, when you accelerate, turn, brake, anything like that, you're moving around on this circle. And as soon as you get past that circle anywhere, you are now slipping your tires and you're losing speed. And so if you think about it, because it's a big circle, if you go left on that circle, so I'm making a full left turn and I'm not using any pedals. So I'm off both pedals and turning super hard. I get that maximum grippage of the tire. But as soon as I start to accelerate, if I go straight up from there, I'm now out of the circle. Or if I go straight down from there when I start to brake, I'm now out of the circle. So that means you've exceeded the limit of the tire. So it's important to keep it in that. So basically, if you want the most turning, you have to be off pedals. As soon as you add another pedal, you're going to start losing grip. So the reason I say that is this total G is super helpful because it basically is the grip of the tire. So this peak here, which you can see by these red dots, that means that is pretty much the peak of the tire. So it's at that level. And you can see here, which is also really cool. Basically, you can tell by the speed when it's going down, that's when I'm braking. And when it's going up, that's when I'm accelerating. And when the steering wheels turn, that's when I'm turning. But braking has the most ability of the car to use your grip because that's when you're going to pull the highest Gs. But you can see here, I'm way slower in speed. And you can see how much higher Ted's total G is. You can look over here on the right. Ted's at 3 total Gs. I'm at almost 0. So that's one definite way to tell that, oh, look, I can use more of the car there. I can do a lot more. And if you look down here at the brake, Ted's at almost 66 bar of braking, and I'm at 0 still. So he's using all that braking because he's coming in with a lot more speed. So that's why total G is super helpful. And also steering angle is super helpful because you can see here, oh, look, Ted's turning in a little earlier. I'm turning in a little later. Again, very useful. RPM, you can see anytime. Here you can actually tell we're using different gears because Ted's downshifting to first gear. So his RPM goes up because when you downshift, your RPM raises. And here you can see he's upshifting when I'm staying in the same gear. Or he's holding the gear out a little longer. Again, super useful stuff for a driver. The two big ones here are your brake trace and your throttle trace. You can see an ideal brake trace is exactly like, not to toot my own horn, but my trace here. It's pretty beautiful. Ignore this stuff here. Turns out I had brake assist on, which basically is an ABS, which doesn't actually exist, but it fucked me over. So ideally, your peak brake is at the start of your brake trace. I'll actually let someone answer this because if someone gets this right, Siri owes you another drink. But why are you able to use the most brake at the start of the brake zone versus at the end of the brake zone? Does anyone know?
Go ahead. Downforce was the
Exactly. So that's right. So Indy cars have massive wings. And when you're going at the start of the brake zone, you're going like here, GPS speed 260 kilometers.
damn.
Versus when at the end, you're going 97 kilometers. So exactly what he said. When you got a bunch of downforce on those front tires have a lot more grip and they've got a lot more usable grip. So you can hit them super hard, but you have to bleed off that brake. Basically, if you made this a flat line, eventually once you get to like 180 kilometers an hour, you no longer have as much downforce, so your front tires don't have as much grip and they're going to lock up. And when you lock up, you lose braking efficiency and everything, and you'll flat spot your tires, and your engineers will hate you, and your fans will hate you because you suck. So that's the ideal trace, is this perfect little backwards, I don't know, geometry, isosceles, scalene, something like that, triangle.
Wonderful.
So that's that. Another cool thing here is you have GPS speed, but also, like I said, you have your wheel speeds. So we've got our left front, right front wheel speeds here. And you can see there's a big dropout right here. On this upper one is my left front, bottom one's my right front. So you can see it's a massive lock up there. That's what that is. So that's easy stuff you can tell from this data, which is, again, super helpful. Right here in Barber, I just spoiled the track. Well, this track is Barber, but in this track you get airborne. And when you're airborne, turns out you don't have a lot of grip in your brakes. So they tend to lock up. So that one's a little inevitable, but it's a cool thing that you can see. And then also here at the bottom, C time, most important thing, it's compare time from me to Ted. So here you can see this is turn 1 and 2. I am down 4/10 in 2 corners. So that's not very good. And also this is a tool that you guys can use too, the D key. So if you press the D key, you click somewhere and then click elsewhere, you see how it has these weird lines. Now everything that you see is only in that range. So you can see here it's 0.43. That's the delta between the start and the end of this. So that means I lost 0.43 tenths. Or if you look over here at the top, time, I guess it doesn't work like that name, but yeah, so it just basically tells you your delta through that time. Super helpful tip. Finally, one other thing that we use is the split report. So the split report's like this. Basically a lot of numbers, but all it is your track map is set up with different splits. So your start splits here, your middle splits here, you got a split here, etc. And it just splits it up into your best segments. I only ran like 3 laps on this thing, but here's Ted's. So he's got a bunch of laps, and you can see by highlighted, his best split in this segment was lap 3, etc. And then it eventually gives you this theoretical best time. So the theoretical best time, though, is taken with a grain of salt because it's a little impossible to hit. Why? I'm sure some of you guys can get this, but basically look at where this split is here. Some guy could come in, forget to brake, go 150 into this corner and put it in the wall right here. But the GPS doesn't know that, or the lap time doesn't know that. And they're like, oh, wow, you just had a 1 second better split through here. So generally it's not that extreme. It's, oh, I blew this corner. My next split is terrible, but this split's good. And so that will drop your theoretical down. So what we really look at is this best rolling lap. Best rolling lap is a lap you actually did. So it picks a different spot for your start finish line. So you can actually see this here by this yellow. So if the start finish line was between turns 4 and 5, Ted would have ran a 1:07.3, which is 2/10 faster than his actual time. So that's a lap you actually did. It's just not exactly at the start finish line of the track. So that's super helpful. Also, one important thing, if you guys are doing this, when you come to this main screen, it'll initially look like this, with all your laps enabled. And so this means your out laps are enabled and your in laps are enabled. The reason why this is bad is if you go here, now it says he ran a theoretical of a 36.5, which I don't know about you, seems a little aggressive. And I don't believe that he ran a 36.5. If anyone tells me they ran a 36.5, I'm throwing them off a cliff. So basically your in laps generally have really fast sectors because your distances are messed up, right? Because this measures graph, the x-axis is distance. So if you ran an in lap and you're covering a shorter distance, your times are going to be all messed up. And so the split report will get super confused. So what you do is you come over to Lap Manager and you look at this percent on run. That's percent of your best time. And anything above like a 102, 103, you can control click on and then right click and then say disable lap. And that'll make your split report look a lot better.
Yeah. Also, I think that's good to mention because if we run different tracks, we're doing like some sort of shakedown. We're not going to have proper laps. So if we go to Lap Manager and then disable the laps that are just us testing the car in the pits or whatever, we'll get actual stuff. Also, it's like good that Juven's pointed out like lap to lap comparisons, and hopefully we get to that point in the season where we're doing lap to lap comparisons and like skid pads back to back to back. But instead of doing driver to driver, we're probably doing like setup change to setup change. But we can utilize the same exact delta measurements. So yeah, thanks, Juven.
Yeah, of course.
All right. Before we go, Juven mentioned the GG plot. I'm just going to put this picture up real quickly. This is kind of the plot of, I don't know what the hell this is, but oh yeah, should I share my screen? Yep. Share my screen. Okay. Got it? All right. So this is kind of your ggplot that Yuvan was talking about. It's an ellipse or a sort of a quasi circle. Essentially what he's saying is that if you start at this point here and you're pulling all your lateral G's and you try to accelerate, you're going to exceed the circle. And now suddenly you're outside kind of your maximum friction. And that's where you're going to start slipping. So the driver that maximizes their car is always at the edges of this circle. And the wider that circle of the ellipse you can make it, the more performance your car has. So essentially tire utilization is what he's getting at with that total G plot. But yeah, I think I'll call it there. I'll stay here for any questions. Thank you, Yuvan, for showing us the data. I also owe someone a Long Island iced tea, but appreciate it. Cool. Thanks, Yuvan. All right.